agreed, so I went down there and said, let's just do it, you know, and just stay away from one another. I know your trailers are right across from one another, but, you know, you're both adults. And he seemed amicable to that. And so, in that light, I thought it was done, so.
I also talked with this individual actually today, and he says that he handed in a list of complaints July?
9-4 he gave me. I wrote them down at 9-4.
So he handed you a list of complaints also?
Yeah.
And that is actually the complete flip of what we have here. Against, from, this one's complaining one person to here, the list you have is a flip of people complaining.
These are
to each
just-
other.
Things that he felt Lyle was doing to him and he should be doing differently. But when you're in a public service job, you can't keep everybody happy all the time. And I don't want to, to him it's a big deal, but I think when you're dealing with a couple hundred campers, maybe it should have been handled differently early on. I don't know the extent of it from the genesis of this whole thing, so I don't know how it evolved throughout the summer. I just sat down with him on 9-4. And these are the notes.
I also think that asking the guy not to come back, who's been coming to our campground for well over 30 years, spends his entire summers here, he spends all of his money in Central Lake, he doesn't leave, he doesn't go to Traverse City to eat, he doesn't go other places, he sits here in town and spends money in our town. Never had any issues before with it, we've had continued other issues in other places, and to tell a guy who's not here to defend himself that he can't come back after 30 years, I can't agree with that.
I disagree with you on that, because I've got letters from other people who were in the campgrounds that said that he is detriment to the campgrounds and they were ashamed that he was still there.
How come the council hasn't seen these letters?
You have some of them in front of you.
I have one from, I don't want to get into names, but
Okay, no, I've got 3 of them sitting there right here, and I've also got,
this one we can, because this one's from Lyle.
and then I have some from people who have commented him on how well he has done. That they were glad he was here. But I disagree because I think he is not, he's a detriment to the campgrounds. And he was always trying to tell me that he got Lyle the job, he did this and he did that, but he did not. He had nothing to do with Lyle getting the job. And just because he's been coming here all this time, he has created serious problems with some of the campers, and I disagree with letting him stay, come back. I would like to eliminate him coming back.
Could I say one thing?
Yes,
When this all started,
Give me a date.
huh?
Give me a date. When this started. Let's not use
It
ambiguity.
started when he moved on, George and I put the trailer in there. And,
So April of this year.
that was right around the 15th, 16th.
All right.
We put the trailer in there, and I did move that trailer on that diagonal, so it had more access, visibility towards the bathroom, so I could monitor those better from my trailer. I also did that for the campers on, that use site 12, so they would have a little different view than the back side of his trailer, looking directly at the full length of a 24-foot trailer. So I got it for 2 reasons. And I think if I could have gotten some support at that time, we'd have put the fire out. But we did have people tell him that he could do as he pleased with that site, which me as an employee give me absolutely no backing. I went to Larry early on about this whole thing and asked him for some backing. And he did give me some backing, and it just snowballed from there. Most of the summer, I felt like I was in a hostile environment. I didn't even feel comfortable in my own trailer. I think the individual might have some issues other than between me and him. Might be health issues, might be whatever. But when he approached or made the statements that he did to a friend of mine, when she had her grandson down there,
Are you alluding to the statement made on 9/19?
yeah, and I think that was very inappropriate. That kind of language shouldn't be allowed in the park. We try to keep it down. And, I'm sorry, I don't wanna take and lose anybody either. But at the same time, if we don't take a step up to the plate, and I get some backing and something like this, then we're gonna have some more problems within the park. We had one other incident this summer that I did not bring to the board, because I handled it at the dock, somebody shooting fireworks off the dock. That lady used that F-bomb on me, and I walked away from her. She spent the rest of her time in the park. I didn't have any problem after that. I don't know. I don't know what to do in a situation like this. But I can say right now, it was not a very comfortable summer also. I tried to avoid them as much as possible. And then, a year ago, when
The summer prior.
the summer prior, when he contacted two teenage boys that let two walleyes go out of his basket in the creek. He caught them uptown, and he grabbed them, and grabbed the one guy and tore the shirt on that guy, and then proceeded to go down and lie to the deputy that came down to the campground at midnight. And I told him at that time, that was the second incident. And we weren't going to put up with
Did
more.
you bring that up to the board? Was I absent for that meeting?
No, I didn't bring that up.
He didn't bring it up to the
So a
board.
deputy was called
I
about
brought
an
it
incident at the
up to
park.
her.
A deputy was called about an incident at the park and we were never notified of it.
I did not call him. I found out about it being called, Rob, after I got up in the morning. But the thing is that I guess I gotta have a little support from the board. Whether we get rid of them, whether we don't, that's here or there, but I need some support.
It says here in your statement that you told him he has 2 strikes against him and 1 more and he's out. When were we notified of that problem was existing? I mean, how do you tell somebody that they're in?
I don't think I did notify you. I thought maybe we had it handled, because I didn't have any problem until this year.
When I asked him about that, he says that has never been the case and we've never told him that he had 2 strikes against him.
Yeah,
Right now, we got an issue of he said, and the other one's not here to defend himself.
well, there's only one thing about it, Joe. If an individual wasn't told that he could take and do what he wanted to do at that campsite, we probably wouldn't have had the issue.
So you
I've taken treat that property as any round property that I've ever had. I think we have the right to take and establish where the trailer should go to the best of our ability, for the best use of those sites. And I think that all rental properties have some restrictions, and you can ask Larry, most subdivisions have restrictions on them and so forth. I don't know. I really don't.
Can we go back to your letter here? It says, I have felt this way several times this summer. Were the incidents between you and he verbal interaction, and did you document it? Like a date and say, okay, this happened?
Yeah, I got them down there.
All right, because I'd like to see those to see if we can formulate a timeline. Second part of your letter here, and you already alluded to the fish that was let go, and had 2 strikes against him, and 1 more he would be asked to leave. I assume the first strike was when the deputies were called in the summer of
No,
14.
there was-
See, this is all news to me,
There-
from
yeah,
never back
there was-
before.
There was one other one the year before that.
So we
I
have-
mean, that same year, last year, there was same one, I got it documented down there, it was a friend of mine stopped to show me his boat at my site. Unbeknownst to me, he and this individual had a run-in out on the water. The guy happens to be about 84 years old right now, and he got too close to the individual on the water when they were fishing all.
What year was the boat incident?
Last year,
2014.
and that came right down to the point of almost blows. This guy stopped, and no more than got out of the cab, I went out to talk to the individual, look at his boat. And this camper came right over here. I knew about the incident, I told him, I said, this is it, I said, you guys settle that, I said, we don't need that. He proceeded to cut right in and go after the guy anyway. It got down to the point where he threatened to knock the guy out on the water. He said he'd get him out on the water, he'd beat him up. And the other individual said, maybe I ought to start carrying my 38.
So that would be the instance that I was told about today of your buddy threatening to shoot him.
Two sides to every story.
That's what I'm saying, well, he just corroborated that this guy said he's gonna be carried a 38, so.
But the thing is that there is no place in the campground for that one over here.
How long have you been coming up to our campground before you were manager, Lyle?
I've been coming up here since 1966, 67.
47 years, 50 years?
Yeah.
50 years. Mike, or this gentleman's been coming more than 30 years. You guys have been
Probably
great
40.
friends.
I,
But you guys work, why now is this an issue? And why is it that every meeting since the campground opened, we've had campground issues?
Can I ask a question, Scott? How many times have you been involved with any of these issues?
Quite a bit. My conversations with Lyle is to keep the board informed.
Of your conversations with this individual?
Me on these issues, none.
You-
The one issue where the police were called, I think the sheriff's department was called late at night when that issue
From
transpired.
what it sounds like, that incident happened uptown, didn't even happen in a campground. Actually,
Yeah.
the kids violated his space, took his fish, invaded his private property, and he confronted them, and now he's proven guilty. by
That-
judge.
No, there's the allegation of the kids letting the fish go, and then there's the allegation of him physically
Alright, so
assaulting
these
the
are
kids,
just-
so.
Alright.
So, I mean, there's
I wanna make sure we got all the facts, not,
and I honestly don't know the facts, I haven't seen
I'm
them
just,
before.
I'm picking up bits
Yeah.
and pieces here and
I
there.
left the part of that out. He grabbed the guy uptown, the kids went back down to the campground at Site 27 because their uncle was down there and so was their mother. That's when the individual went down there and started getting more boisterous down there, and that's when the mother called the sheriff's department.
But again, these were incidents back in 2014, and we're now in 2015.
Just being notified. All right, so do we have a 3-strike policy at the campground?
No.
But as Larry said, it's our campground, we could do as we choose.
And since we hire Lyle to manage that campground, and he set the rules to begin with, and they're very consistent.
Are they typed somewhere though, these rules?
Yes.
Because we should cite the rules of
They
the.
They have
Campground
been
rules
changed
are
so much in the last few years from what they were originally, that I can't tell you what the rules are anymore. Every time I
clarify
turn around,
that.
it changed.
We as a council set the rules,
Mhm.
as presented by whoever, whatever, and we all agreed to set the rules in that manner. And it's Lyle as the campground host to enforce them rules as we direct an employee to do.
I mean, I feel it's, I think it should be, the individual, like you say, he's in Chicago or wherever he lives at, somewhere in Illinois, I understand.
Yep.
He's not here to give us his side of the story. I'm not comfortable being judge and jury against an individual that's been spending money in our community for 40 years. Spends 5 months, we wait till these campers gone and all of a sudden.
I know.
Take his-
I contend that. It's
I'm
not a
just-
matter of waiting. This
I'm-
happened after our last
We were
meeting.
never made aware of it.
Right,
So whether it's
That-
waiting,
That's
sandbagging,
fine. That's fine. It wasn't waited for not until he left.
okay, coincidence.
It was, he happened to leave when this happened, and we have our meeting tonight. So yes, you're being informed of this. That's what's going on right now.
What about the complaints from him prior? Where he was told by Rob that if he had problems to talk with Leela or Rob
And
or
he
Melissa.
talked to me one time, but he
According to
didn't
him,
talk.
he's tried to have 3 meetings with you, 2 of which you showed up for, and the 3rd one you wouldn't meet with him. And you were to where he told you all of his issues. Where's that in front of us?
I don't
We
recall
have
any meeting.
Lyle's complaints, where's the ones that this other gentleman had?
Well, you, oh,
You have,
I've got, all right.
is there a list of them, or?
All right, 1, does Lyle have the authority to move trailers? Already addressed that, all right? Does he have the right to tell people how to use their lot and tent locations? All right? Tent location, I don't know. Trailer position, he already alluded to. Why after 4 years is Lyle concerned about where he stacks his firewood? He's been stacking his firewood there for 4 years without any problems. All of a sudden, Lyle tells him where to go and where to stack the firewood.
I'd like to answer that one right now, Rob.
Okay?
I did
Just,
not.
I'm just the messenger on this, so don't.
I understand that, but I have not ever told him where to put his firewood.
All right.
After the incident of moving his trailer, repositioning his trailer, and I told him that I did it so I could see the bathroom, he decided to take and change the place that he piled his firewood. So then he piled it just as high as he could reach, so I could not see the approach to the bathroom down the road. So I did not tell him.
Yeah, so let me.
Two sides of every story, yeah.
Right now, the trailer positioning and the wood incident, which was brought to me again too, all comes for your view of the bathrooms. So you can see a lane up there, is that correct?
Yeah,
So really, Jim Hudson had the perfect setup by being on site 11, where he can see the entire campground and the bathhouse.
and I answered you on that. You approached me a year ago on that, I said, give me a paved pad up there and I'd take and pull the trailer up there. I answered you on that.
No, site 12.
Site 12,
that-
not 11,
Sorry,
sorry,
site 12, 12, yes.
So I can go through the rest.
I'm just, what I'm trying to establish here is, there was complaints earlier from this individual about Lyle.
Yeah.
Nothing was done by the board then or brought to the board then, and now we have something in front of us saying, we don't want this camper back. I can't agree with it.
I'll just go over them all. 2, fire pit, he was gonna take his bricks out at the end of the year. Lyle told me he couldn't have the fire bricks around his fire pit because of the plowing. I did talk to Sam about the plowing, they do not plow that stretch of the campground.
I don't think they plow in July anyways.
I don't, well, no.
I didn't say anything about
He
plowing.
said if they were left behind, I'm just reading it.
Oh, okay.
Bathroom, he got locked in the bathroom, because the code was changed. And after I investigated, it had nothing to do with Lyle, because the locksmith was called and he did it incorrectly. That's when the individual got locked into the bathroom. He got locked in for 45 minutes. What happens if there was a medical emergency? So after I investigated this a little further, the timeline did not match up. For Lyle's harassment of him, inappropriate comments. Let's see, quote, go do something, go out and do something, or something. His wife has cancer. And then, N-word, he used the N-word apparently, I don't know, I'm reading. Five, when the report cards came out, Lyle went around telling everybody to do a good job. That I was to tell on the report card, this is from September. Am I doing a good job on the report? I'm sorry. 7, you don't cut his grass in front of his place. 8,
Wow, you gotta go to prison.
apparently you're supposed to keep a logbook and you don't. I did look it
I
up.
got a lot of it written up down there.
All right,
I know there was an instance where he talked to the dog about it.
yeah, a 3-year-old, a pit bull bit a 3-year-old. I don't know. In August, a drunk guy at 3 a.m. was wandering around the campground. Is there an eviction policy? Does he have the right? Does he have the right and authority to throw somebody out? And that is it.
So my point.
So like, they're just all,
So my point of that is it's back to, he said, and it seems the two of you just aren't getting along. So we're gonna do we think we should kick a campground just because the two of you guys aren't getting along?
What would you, well, in other words, are you saying that we
I
cannot?
wanna clarify one thing. I have not done anything but bend over backwards to go along with that man.
And he says the same that he's done for you.
That, yeah, okay. Now, I have tried to avoid him, and I've done everything that he's asked. When he asked me today to go take care of the bathroom because the toilet was plugged, I go take care of the toilet. Whatever he wanted done, I went and done. I did not go over and visit with him like I normally do, because you don't know when he's gonna pop a cork, plain and simple. I honestly think there's something that might be medically a problem, because he was not this way before. Now, you sit there and shake your head, but I can understand where you're coming from too, and we're not gonna get into that.
Scott, kind of remind you, historically, the campground has obviously rules.
can you
As long
stand
as-
up? I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. The campground has rules, and that if people aren't following them, we've had, I think 3 years ago, I think you guys passed a resolution to make some rules to where we can kick people out of the park. With Brian Graham's direction, you know, if I bring a complaint to you, I can suggest or ask you guys to permanently remove people from the park. And we've done it. There's people that made a mess of the park and stuff like that. And historically, that's because it's a safety issue, not only for the property that's involved and or people. I think from what I can hear from these two complaints, one happens to do with somebody either doing his job or not doing his job. The other one happens to do with somebody physically harming or threatening to harm somebody. So I would ask that you take things like that into consideration, because we're talking about people's safety and well-being. And I think Lyle's conversation to me was he feels threatened, he feels intimidated, and those type of things.
Where was that conversation?
That's the conversation Lyle and I had personally, about the issue, about the comments that were made about him or roundabout to him.
So you have talked to Lyle about this threatening,
Yep.
calling threatening
And the
individual?
conversation I had with Lyle, that I directed him to Larry, which Larry in turn talked to Brian Graham. Because historically, anytime there was a complaint with a fellow employee, I wouldn't handle that anyways. I just said, Larry, get a hold of Brian, see what Brian suggests that we do.
See, and this gentleman says that while he may have said some of the things in this, that he didn't say them in a threatening way, he said them, he's, because of the harassment, he felt the guy's lucky he didn't do that. So it wasn't necessarily, he's not, he's.
And I
saying he
personally don't
wasn't-
know what the
So
statement
then
was,
again,
I didn't
it's an
investigate.
interpretation of how,
I guess what I would.
and this other gentleman is also feeling threatened by your buddy with a 38. So there's threatening things going back and forth by both of you.
But the thing is, Joe,
But,
that
well,
I ought to be able to have company come into my trailer, and they're my friends. That man does not have to come across and start a threatening maneuver with that individual. What transpired on the way is between them, and that was a week before. And that should have been over and
That was
The
the
done.
incident a year ago.
Huh?
That's incident in 2014.
So why wasn't it
The one
addressed
on the
within
lake
that?
was 2014.
So why weren't we asked then to eject this person from our campground?
I thought it was-
That threatening and that harsh on us.
I thought that we had it settled and started off good.
Scott, have you ever talked to this
What?
camper?
what's that?
Have you ever talked to this camper?
I know who the camper is,
Have you ever talked to him?
in regards to,
The situation, this evolving confrontation between the two of them?
no, not specifically. I understand there is the issue, I guess I would have my opinion on why there's an issue, but I guess it's not.
But you've never talked to him. Larry, have you talked to this individual? No.
I have.
Have you?
Yes, I have.
You have, and I have, I know
Oh, yeah,
that, so.
definitely, several times.
I have two.
Not in relationship.
You have two,
to this-
Yes,
Tim,
I have two.
in regards to this situation?
Yes, I mean, I talked to, I know him very well too. I used to go down and have coffee with him on Saturday mornings, that's how well I knew him. And it just seems to, like Lyle said, it just, 1 minute Mike's on top, then Lyle, then Mike, then Lyle. Oops, excuse my word I said. I didn't say the name, I'm sorry, folks. But that's, it just keeps escalating.
But it's a very manageable situation, I believe.
I-
But this could live in peace and,
You got a gentleman that's been in the park for 40 years here, this is, I can't see you people making a decision overnight on that issue.
No.
That guy's been there a long time. And I understand Lyle, I'd stick up for Lyle any day, trust me. But, seems like
Is it
maybe
not
I'd be
true
able
that
to come
you
up
guys
with
used
some
to
way
be
to
pretty
separate the
doggone
two of
good
them,
friends at one time?
and everybody can keep going.
I'm just asking now, because I've been good friends with people and
We
went our
did not
separate ways,
have
and we're
any-
friends again.
Any problem really until I moved that trailer.
Hey, Rob.
Well, then let's move that trailer to a different site and,
I don't know if this gentleman wants a different site.
Well,
We-
maybe-
We offered him a huge discount to move to a different site,
Okay.
and he said, I'd rather pay the full price and stay where I'm at.
all
Who offered him that?
We tried to,
Who?
2
As
years
we?
ago, 2 years ago, we asked him if he would move to a
You didn't
different
ever-
site.
That's why you didn't tell us
So see,
about
the
it.
animosity was going on 2 years ago between the two of them,
Right.
because otherwise you wouldn't have made that offer.
If you were to
The
ask,
offer was because at the time we were trying to push that upper hill as a seasonal thing. That's why that offer went to him.
You know, you can always go right back to that and you solve the whole situation.
You were gonna say something,
Make
Scott?
the hill your seasonal sites and nobody else.
if you were to ask me, it seems more of a turf war. And I think if you're gonna leave somebody in charge, and I'm gonna say this personally, if you're gonna leave me in charge of the police department, I would hope that you let me do my job. And I think that's what Lyle's asking for. Number one, that he
Absolutely.
needs to be safe, he needs to be in a safe environment, and he needs to do his job. That's really all I know at this point.
That's what I keep feeling, that we,
And
he should be trusted and believe in him.
But I agree with Sam too, I mean, you guys have a tough decision here to make, and maybe it's not today, maybe it's next month when somebody has the opportunity to come and present his side of the story. You need to hear both sides of the story. And if you guys would offer him the opportunity to come back up at a later date, not whenever it's convenient, I guess, and find out the whole story, but ultimately, you have to make sure this guy's safe. Because you know, we all stick up for each other because this is all we have. And if Lyle needs something, Sam O'Hara is there, and vice versa. And it kind of, unfortunately, I can't handle this complaint in and of itself because of the threats and stuff like that, because it's internal, but, you know, I haven't been able to investigate the whole thing. I haven't been able to find out all the answers, so I don't know the other gentleman's side of the story either, so.
Can I just ask something? Not to interrupt, but what Scott said makes sense to me. Why doesn't Scott deal with it? I mean, seriously, talk to this guy, talk to Lyle, and present his thoughts as law enforcement to you as a council. Whether it takes a month, two,
But here's the question, I mean, if you were going to pursue this as a criminal nature, I can't handle it. If you're going to solve this as a internal type of an issue, then yeah, that's something I could do.
And I agree with you also, and whether, how you handle it, but what appears to me over a 2 or 3 year period, and I'm not siding with anybody else, you haven't even been asked to intervene in this situation. So these threats, are they really threats, or is it just a couple guys arguing over a poker game? I mean, is it legitimate?
But I think that's
bodily
where
harm threats,
you guys
or
as
is
a
it
board can step in and say, okay, let's think of some other different solutions we have. I mean,
Right.
do you kick somebody out, do you move their campsite, do you do some other things? I don't
We
know.
got, these guys have been staying together for 80 years. I
The,
mean,
Combined time, eh?
combined
Roger.
time, I mean,
this letter that she wrote, I consider as threats. The rest of the stuff I could handle, I did not feel comfortable in my trailer this summer, because you didn't know what was taking place.
All summer long?
Probably July, right after, it got worse after the 4th of July. But one thing that could make it a lot easier for me, if I make a decision and a camper don't like my decision, then he contacts one of the board members. If they would come and ask me about it instead of, well, yeah, you can go ahead and do it, you know? Ask me, I'm supposed to be running the park, come and ask me why I made that decision, but nobody does.
You never told us.
Huh?
You never once told us. I
Well,
supported you
no,
up and
No,
down.
that's not what he's
no,
talking
I've got
about.
everything documented and
I'm-
nothing's
I'm
on
not
paper.
I'm not talking about that, I'm talking when a camper comes to a park, a board member with a situation that I might have created by moving the trailer or no fire breaks or whatever, instead of saying, go ahead, you can do as you please, come and ask me why I made that decision. I have no problem answering those questions. That's what I'm saying.
Who's the trustee that told this gentleman he could do as he pleases?
You did.
No, I did
Yes,
not.
you
He
did.
did.
You
No,
told
I did
him
not.
he could leave those fireworks there.
No, I did not. And
Well,
again,
he still
see,
told
we went
us
back, we went back to that conversation once before, that I told him I didn't see a problem with him, but that would be a council or committee decision. I didn't see a problem, because we discussed that, and one of Lyle's concerns, because you even sat here and asked me, why didn't you talk to Lyle? And I did talk to Lyle, and his concern was the guys are gonna hit him plowing, and the kids may pick him up and throw him.
I didn't.
Well, if a kid wants to pick up an 8-pound block that's 100 and some degrees, probably a lot easier to pull a little stone off the side of the road, don't you think?
Okay,
I never told the guy once he could do what he wanted, and you thought it, and you kept telling people that. And that's why I have a problem. You have harassed him as much as he supposedly is you.
the thing is that I have never said anything about plowing around those bricks and mowing around those bricks.
You told me
And-
yourself. That's what you told me.
Mowing around those bricks, I don't plow, okay?
And your plowing instance was the guy Sam, and
That was never mentioned, and I never said that to you.
and we'll go back to, I believe it was the June meeting or July, probably July's meeting, when this was addressed with you then too. That I did ask Lyle, and
Lyle said you didn't go to him, you went to,
I
you
sat
went
right
to
in
the
the meeting and
camper.
I told you that I did talk to him. How else am I gonna know that Lyle said the kids are gonna throw them and that it would be another issue? And I also told you if you wanted to know what the truth was, to come ask me. I never told the gentleman he could put